All right, well, howdy, everybody. So today we got our goats. I'm gonna try to add some video that Sylvia took at the end of this of our goats. Hopefully, it'll work. Sometimes when she makes videos and I try to download them into my phone, it doesn't stay. I'm not sure why. Anyhow, the topic for today is going to be tips for living off grid. I was asked by subscribers for this, so thought it was a good idea for a video. Now, everybody's going to have different tips, different ideas, and it's also going to depend on where you live. This is specifically for Arizona. It's more specifically towards where I live at in Arizona. However, many other places in Arizona are going to be similar. So we'll get going from here. For starters, I'll say what I've eaten today, because I know some of you are concerned with my the way I eat. I had some sushi for breakfast / lunch, so brunch, and what I've been eating here this afternoon has been some crackers and some Hatch Green chili and crab dip. If y'all don't know what Hatch Green chilies are, then y'all are just missing out. You're just living an abused life. You should really find out what Hatch Green chilies are. Unfortunately, in a lot of places in the country, probably most places in the country, all you can find is in the Mexican aisle canned Hatch Green chilies. But out here in the Southwest, we get fresh Hatch Green chilies. They're grown here in New Mexico and then distributed around, and grocery stores in Arizona as well as New Mexico get fresh ones and have big containers full of Hatch Green chilies that they sell every year, usually in August. They're just great. Everybody out here, when it's Hatch Green chili time, people just really stock up on them. I was trying to get some last year and save the seeds for them, but unfortunately I put the seeds in a little baggie and misplaced them, forgot about it. So the baggie was moist and the seeds just molded. They didn't get dried out properly. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be growing any this year. However, I'm going to try to get some seeds this year, and next year I'll be planting them. Hopefully that'll go well. Hatch Green chilies are awesome. So anyhow, without further ado, we'll get started on this. One of the things you want to consider, subscriber had mentioned, living off grid or squatting. I would be very careful about squatting. Technically Arizona laws do allow for a certain amount of squatting, this and that. And there's definitely a lot of property out by me that nobody lives on. However, it is owned by somebody. That property it's not just land that's not owned by anybody. It is owned by somebody. It's not BLM land, federal land, public land in any way. Obviously, if you're on public land, you can only be there for 14 days at a time in one particular spot. But I would say if you can find BLM land out by me, the chances of them coming out there and even realizing you're there or saying anything are probably pretty slim. I wouldn't get all crazy and start building things on it, but I'm just saying it's pretty slim. As far as doing this on other property that's not public land, but it is owned by somebody, again, you may never see the people who own the land. It may be in a trust or whoever, and they may never come out there, or it may be years before they come out there. Who knows? But the people around people around you, if they notice you there, are going to be curious who you are. They may know who owns the land, and so questions could get asked. You just want to be careful about that. So the biggest number one thing about living off grid is respect people's property. So if someone's living there, it's their property. Do not trespass on their property. They're most likely going to have a sign up. Don't do it. Seriously, don't do it, man. People live off grid, are very protective of their property. They want to be left alone. They don't want people just wandering on it. Everybody's got a gun because it's Arizona, and the chances of you getting shot at or shot are really high. So it's the number one thing. If you live off grid, don't go screw around on other people's property. It's just not worth it. Even our neighbors, our neighbors and friends who know us out there, we try to, if possible, message them before we come over, unless we're invited, and then we tell them that we're on the way. If they're in a situation where they wouldn't be able to see us coming up their drive, as soon as we turn on the drive, we honk our horn numerous times, letting them know that we're coming. And we expect the same for people to come visit us, because we are in a situation where you can't see us from the road. We can't see you, but we will hear the vehicle coming down, and we're going to be ready for it. So if you honk your horn or something, that's a good idea to let people know. One of our neighbors has got his place completely fenced in. You can't drive up. But if you want to get a hold of him, he has a big, really nice bell that hangs up on a wooden post with a rope on the outside. And you pull that rope, and that gets his attention, and then he'll come out. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Water. Obviously, you want to have a source for water. Figure out where you're going to get your water. And out there, digging a well is just god-awful expensive. And there's no guarantee. You could spend $30,000 to have them come out and dig a well, and there's no guarantee that you're going to even hit water. It's just not guaranteed. We're at 6,500 foot elevation. There are 2 large aquifers that run under that part of the state. So there is water there. But depending on how far they have to drill, if they happen to get into a spot that misses one of them, whatever, it could be a costly endeavor. Plus, once you get the well, now you've got to maintain it. You've got to get some kind of power to it for it to pump. So that becomes even more money, more hassle. If you got the money, great. But most of us that are living out there, we don't have the money for that. We're not rich. We're fairly simple folks with simple jobs or retirement or disability, whatever. So you have to find another source for water. Ergo, we have water tanks. And there's a few different people in the area that deliver water. They'll get it. There's a place in St. John's where you can just pull up and pump water right into your tanks and then go. And it's basically free. But you've got to drive into St. John's, hauling your empty water tank, and then fill it, drive back. So you're spending money on fuel, plus the wear and tear of your vehicle, hauling hundreds of gallons of water, whatever it is, and your trailer. So we just pay someone to deliver it. It's depending on who it is, it's $50 to $100 for them to deliver it. The guy that we've used has been $50 for 750 gallons of water. And there's no prorating. That's what they fill up. That's what they deliver. That's what you're paying for. If you can't hold it all, they're going to dump it or take it back, whatever, but you still paid for it. There's no prorating it. So make sure that you've got water. Always make sure you have water. If the weather is going to be bad and you think that you're running low, order your water before the weather hits so you can get it in there, because they're coming out with a truck with all that water on the back. They can't very well drive down these roads when they're all soggy and mushy and covered in snow and water and mud. So keep that in mind. You also want to bear in mind that you got to have a way of heating your place in the wintertime. We had this last winter propane heater that's installed in the side of the house with the line going outside for propane tanks. For whatever reason, we're not sure. I'm not, a propane heater mechanic. I don't know anything about them. But we've had a lot of issues with it this winter. It kept wanting to go off in the middle of the night. They would just turn off, the pilot would go out, and it would just, the gas would just stop. She'd clean it, and then sometimes it'd start working again after she cleaned it, but it seemed like she had to clean it an awful lot because it quit working a lot. And not to mention, we'd have our propane tanks, and we'd run out of propane, and then she has to drive back into town and get more propane. And so for what I'd recommend for that, start off with what I recommend for that, is keep several propane tanks around, or get you a pig propane, they're called pigs, some large propane tank, something like that. But something that's still able for you to get into town. I don't know if anybody comes out to fill tanks out there, but it's possible. But if they do, it's going to cost more. With the price of gas right now and propane and everything, oh my God, it's just outrageous. And then the fuel going back into town, having to refill these tanks every few weeks or every month, it's pretty high. So we are going to next year go with a wood burning stove. Costs a little bit of money to install it, of course, and to buy it and then install it and everything. I have a friend who's got several out on his property that just need a little cleaning up, refurbishing, but he's going to sell me one of them for $100, and it comes with some of the piping and everything. And then we're going to use that for next year. Why we're doing it, one, our property has a lot of trees on it, and we've got a lot of deadfall and dead trees, so we've got plenty of wood. Plus, there is a place that I'm told about in Springerville that sells cord of wood for fairly cheap, and for veterans, they give a veteran discount. It's something like $20 off a cord. It's basically like $80 for a cord of wood. What I've been told, I've not gone down there yet, so I'll know more about that next year when we actually use it. But for that price, plus with our wood that we already have, I mean, it's gonna end up being a lot cheaper. We're not gonna have to run the towns. We're saving gas from run town. The money on the propane for what the propane costs. It's not gonna just shut off in the middle of the night. It's gonna slowly dim down and slowly diminish, and then you wake up and put more wood on it. So it's really, I think it's a better deal. But you need to consider that. You need to consider a heat source, especially in areas like where we live. We have gotten quite a bit of snow this year. It does get cold. It does drop down into single digits. It is not warm. I know Arizona is just supposed to be a big hot desert 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That's just not the reality of it. Too many people believe that. It's not a reality. That's just one of the myths. In the summertime, we don't have air conditioning right now. We don't have solar power yet. We do have a generator, But again, that gets costly. So we don't necessarily have a way of cooling ourselves down. However, it doesn't get very, very hot in our part of Arizona, in our property. Again, because of our elevation, it doesn't get very hot. So we can sit in the shade and be pretty comfortable. So I would recommend, once you get yourself set up, if you don't have trees or something like that, to find a way of creating a shady area. Watch where the sun is, so you know what side of your building is, or wherever you live, is going to have the shade most often, based on the sun. And then get something out there, awning or tarps, something, and get you shade. That's going to be important. It's also going to, not only because of the heat, that's going to help cool you down a lot. I mean, if it's 90 degrees up there, which between 90 and 100 degrees is very rare, and it only lasts for a couple weeks up there, that kind of heat. But you're going to want to be in some shade. The temperature will drop a lot by being in shade. Not only that, where we live, in our part of Arizona, with our elevation, wear a hat when you're outside. I mean, I forgot all about it when I went home in was it February, end of February, beginning of March. I went back home. Yeah, right at the beginning of March, I went back home. And it was in the 50s. Nice day out in the 50s. We were building a goat pen. And I got sunburned because our elevation is so intense up there. I completely forgot about it, spaced it off. It was only warm enough to be without a flannel or a hoodie or something for a few hours of the day. Maybe, 3 hours of the day, 4 hours at most. So I just didn't really think about it, and I got burned. So wear something over your head. Wear head covering. Protect your face from getting burned. Another tip, good idea, is to keep plenty of food stored. Now, it's not necessarily, that you're being a prepper. It doesn't mean that you're a prepper because you're keeping food stored. You're keeping food stored because the weather can get really crappy. You can have a freak blizzard hit and get several feet of snow during the monsoon seasons, usually like by 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon every day during monsoon seasons. The storms come rolling in and just dumps water on us, and those roads get really bad, and there's big lakes in the middle of the road, that you gotta run through. You can't go, some areas you can go around them, and other areas you can't go around them because the embankment's too high. So you're driving, you got to hit these puddles that are, I say puddles, but they're small ponds. They might be 20 foot across. You don't know. And you hit these things running, and you got to keep the momentum going, and you slip and slide, and if you're going slow, you're going to get stuck. And if you don't need to go into town, then don't do it. Because every time you go into town, if you unnecessarily, you're tearing up those roads, and you're making it worse and worse because you're digging ruts out underneath that water. You just don't realize it, and you're just making it a lot worse. And it just makes it deeper and harder. So if you don't have to go to town, or if you can't get to town, keep food stocked up. So that way you have plenty of food, you have plenty of water. If a storm hits, you can just stay at home and ride it out and not worry about going to town. I would definitely recommend that. With our situation for a while during the monsoons last year, I was able to stay at home and work locally, which I'd love to do again. However, I digress. And I had to go to work, so I had to drive on these roads. And the kids had to go to school. Sylvia had to drive on the roads. Except when it was really bad, and Sylvia would just call school and say, the road's bad, we're not coming. And they understand that because there's so many people that live off grid It's just a very common thing. They get it. It's a whole nother life out there, I'll tell you. So definitely keep that in mind. Keep food and whatnot stocked up, water, whatever you think you're gonna need. Tissue paper, don't go crazy. You don't need to go clean off the shelves of the store. Seriously, you're gonna be fine. And there's plenty of plants out there to wipe your butt with if you have to. Tires. You want to keep good tires on your vehicle, and definitely get all-terrains. I do not have all-terrains on my truck. Sylvia does have some good all-terrains on her van, and her van was going through some really, really soggy roads, better than my truck in four-wheel drive and neighbor's new truck in four-wheel drive, because we didn't have all-terrains. So definitely tires matter. It is important. Make sure you've got decent tires. Don't get bald tires going out there. And don't think that you can own a car only and live out there. Just don't do it. I saw people during the monsoons that couldn't figure out how to get back out, because everywhere they turn on every different little road, there was a little pond in the middle of the road. And you end up getting yourself stuck out there. Do not just have a little car and think that's all you need. There was a couple that we stopped and asked them, they were in a Prius, of all cars I have out there, they were in a Prius. And we came up behind them, and they pulled off to the side because they were going real slow over the bumpy roads and everything. Everybody I've come across with a car is going very, very slow out there. And they pulled off the side, and we asked if they're okay, if they needed help. And they said no, they were fine. They had some property down there. And he said, okay, well, I've seen people out here in cars that end up in bad situations, so I just want to make sure you guys are all right. And it was a young couple. He's like, oh, well, we know what we're doing. We're going to be okay. The first thing that went through my head was, if you know what you're doing, you wouldn't be out here in a Prius. That's just it right there. The road, it may be nice and sunny and the roads are great, and then in the middle of the night it starts raining, and then it rains through the rest of the day, and then when you have nice slow rain, you're not getting out, you're not going anywhere. That's it, you're done, period. Keep first aid out there. Keep plenty of first aid stuff out there for you. Alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, bandages, wraps, whatever you think you would need. I mean, if you're handy with sutures, keep something out there for that too. You never know. Whatever you think you're going to need. Bear in mind, when you're out there, depending on where you live, and you're going to have to research this yourself depending on where you go, you could be a long ways from the nearest medical facilities. For us, the nearest hospital is 60 miles from our house. There is in Sanders, 35-mile drive. There is ambulance and fire department there. So they do have EMS services there. However, you're going to want to get to the paved road and meet them where the dirt road ends at the highway, because it's going to take them, 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes to get from town to our road, the beginning of the dirt roads that go out to our house. And then, not knowing where we live, they're going to have to drive slow and maybe make wrong turns. So you're going to want to, it's going to take them a lot longer. So you want to try to meet them at the pavement if you live out where we live. So with that being said, that's another 20-minute drive. So you're meeting them for the 20 minutes that they get there. You're meeting them. And then you got to turn around and go back to the hospital, which is in Gallup. It's a little bit closer by the time you make it to the paved road. It's about 40-something miles, close to 45, 50 miles. but that's still the closest hospital. So you want to keep that in mind. Bear in mind, since we're discussing Arizona, as many of you have seen in my other videos, everything wants to kill you here. Everything wants to kill you. Everything is dangerous. Our plants are dangerous. You know, we have the cholla cactus. No, they're not cholla cactuses. It's called cholla. Cholla cactuses, other words called jumping cactuses, and they'll kick your ass. You know, you can step on their other kinds of baby cactuses that you don't see. Everything out here. Our insects are like ninjas, badasses. And there's, I don't know how many numerous species of scorpions, and we have black widows. I wouldn't worry about tarantulas. They're really pretty cool, but we do have black widows. Rattlesnakes are everywhere. Arizona's got more species of rattlesnake, just species of rattlesnake, than any other place in the world where rattlesnakes are from. We have more species, and then there's subspecies. There's rattlesnakes everywhere. If you're from the city and you say that you're not afraid of rattlesnakes, you're a fool, because you don't know what you're getting into. We'll just put that out there right now. And yes, I know, you know, you could be living up north and you got big grizzly bears you got to worry about, but you hear them fuckers coming. You hear them stomping, you hear them coming. They let you know they're there. Rattlesnakes don't always let you know. You're walking along and minding your own business, it's minding its own business, and you step on it or step too close to it and scare it, and it strikes out and gets you before you even realize it's there. And then that's it. You're in the middle of nowhere, depending on what it is and how angry it is. I mean, you're done. If you can't get to the hospital in time, and it was really afraid and gave you a hot dose, you're done. And do not cut the wound open think you're gonna suck the venom out. That's completely a wives' tale. Doesn't work. You're likely to do more damage than what you're trying to solve, because now you've opened it up more and given them bigger room for infection. Don't do it. Seriously, don't do it. I mean, whatever you're using to cut it open with is going to be more bacteria ridden than a snake's mouth. Snake's mouth is very hygienic. Their saliva, even the non-venomous ones, their saliva is like an anticoagulant. It makes you bleed and makes it look like the bite is worse than what it is, because it's an anticoagulant. So it's actually a pretty hygienic bite. You're not going to get an infection from the snake's saliva, but everything else getting into it is what's going to give you the infection. So don't do it. Don't cut it open. They've said that if you could cut it open within the first few seconds and start sucking, you might get some of the venom out. But the way the venom works on most rattlesnakes out here, it's hemotoxic, which means it attacks your cell structure. So as soon as the venom gets put into you, it's immediately going to work on your cell structure and attacking your cells and eating your cells. So you're not doing yourself any good. So keep that in mind. Meeting your neighbors, getting to know some of your neighbors. This, I would say, is very important. You don't have to be best friends with your neighbors. You don't have to hang out with your neighbors. A lot of times, a lot of situations out there, neighbors don't like each other, but they know each other. And if something bad happens, they're able to contact each other. And whether people out there don't get along or not, if something bad happens and you need help, they will help you. Once you're good and you're back from the hospital, then you guys will go back to hating each other and feuding. But they will come and help you in the meantime. So meet your neighbors, get to know your neighbors. You know, a lot of our neighbors, our closest neighbors, they know we're there. They know where we're at. As soon as I moved out there, they took notice of me, and a lot of them came in here to introduce themselves to me. But they, mostly being nosy. wondering who the hell I was out here tromping around. And they pay attention. They pay attention to everything. Any new vehicle, something that they're not used to seeing, they recognize it. They notice it. You do not go unnoticed out there. And so they came and introduced themselves to me, and we've gone from there. We get along with all our closer neighbors. We don't necessarily speak to them or hang out with them. We might, like, I don't know, once every 6 months or something like that, sit and BS with them and just share news, unless there's someone who goes down to the farmer's market often. But we know each other. We've got each other's phone numbers, so if anything goes bad, we can contact each other. As far as the farmer's market goes, I definitely love the farmer's market down in Witch Wells. However, there's a lot of damn gossip and drama for the people who do get together frequently and mingle and everything down there at farmer's market. There's a lot of gossip and drama. Some recently happened in regards with Sylvia, and people just have nothing better to do than to just make shit up. It's crazy. So keep that in mind as well. Now, as far as laws in Arizona and tips for laws, in Arizona, the law states that you have to fence cattle out. So the rancher is allowed to let his animals run free all over everybody's property, public land, everything out there. His animals are allowed to free range over all of it. If you don't want them on your property, then you have to put up a fence to keep them out. I do not like this law. I do not agree with this law, but it is what it is. Now, with that said, the ranchers out there have most people buffaloed into believing all these BS stories, and how the law is completely on their side for everything in every situation, and they can pretty much do whatever they want to do. No, they can't. Don't believe those stories. The law is still law. Private property is still private property. It is still your property. Their cattle can range on it, and there's nothing that you can necessarily do about it. You can't shoot their cattle, but you can chase them off. It is your property. If their cattle are on your property and they are posing a threat towards you, your family, even your dog or your animals, like it's a bull and it's rutting season and he's posing a threat, you can shoot it. You can shoot it. You're defending yourself, your family, your property, your livelihood. You can shoot it. They'll try to make you out like you can't, but you can. You do have those rights. Technically, the law says if your dog is chasing their cattle, they can shoot your dog, but not while it's on your property. It's your property. Your dog is part of your personal defense in Arizona. Your dog can chase that cow or cattle off your property. Once it steps off your property, then it's fair game. The rancher could shoot at it. But while it's on your property, they can't. And the rancher will try to tell you they can, but I promise you, that would just be a bad idea, shooting into my property with Sylvia and the kids and my animals and my family there. That would just be a bad idea. He would not like the outcome of that. So bear that in mind. That's another thing that's going to happen. The ranchers think that they're gods out there and they can do whatever they want. Well, the days of very few people living out there and free ranging everywhere is over. There's people out there now, and I believe that they should be responsible for their own animals. I should not be responsible for their animals. If you build a fence and the cow comes and messes up your fence, breaks the wires, something like that, the rancher will have one of their hands go and fix the fence for you. But still, I do not believe that I should be responsible for somebody else's animals. They should be responsible for their own. But that's just the way it is there. So keep that in mind. I'm going to light a cigarette. Probably going to get lectured from some of you, but I'm still doing it. I'm a big boy. I can do it. People tell me I should quit smoking, but I'm a welder. I've been a welder for almost 30 years. People don't tell me I should quit welding and change careers because it's unhealthy for me. But they tell me I should quit smoking. Anyhow, back to tips. Bear in mind, a lot of the off-grid areas in Arizona, the popular off-grid places, where you go and live, it's going to be windy. It's going to be windy. It's going to be really windy. You're going to have really bad wind gusts. So if you're setting up a camper or something like that, keep this in mind. You're going to want to anchor it down to the ground somehow, or put it behind behind a windbreak, like trees or something. Where our camper is at, it sits right around where there's trees pretty much all the way around it, but there are trees directly on the west side of it. And the strong winds usually come from the west there. The monsoon storms usually come from the east, but the heavy winds come from the prevailing winds come from the west. It's really weird, but that's the way it is. Oftentimes they come from the south. Storms come from the south as well. Very, very seldom does any storms come down actually from the north. It's just crazy. Even if they're coming down from the north, it seems like they just kind of like circle around so they can hit you from another direction. Sneak attack, maybe, I don't know. But it is very windy there, so keep that in mind. Gold Peak tea, love it, unsweetened. I know I'm originally from Texas. Everybody thinks I should be drinking sweet tea, but I just do not like sweet tea. Trying to think of anything else. I said the medical stuff, keep bug bite stuff out there with you. Protect yourself from the sun, protect yourself from the wind. Protect yourself from crazy people. You'll find there will be crazy people. I definitely recommend you being armed. That's even if you don't hunt and everything, I definitely recommend being armed. Also, here's another little pro tip. Wildlife. You have lots of wildlife out there. I just recently, when I was home last, I actually saw my first wolf, and it was about 150 yards. Well, first wolf in my area, I should say. I've seen wolves in the wild in Arizona before, but this is the first one in my area. It was only maybe 150 yards from our driveway. And it came running from the side of the road, from my driver's side of the road, which is the side that I would be turning left onto for our place. Come running right through the woods, or the grass and trees, across the road right into the other side. And I didn't think about it at the time. I was sitting there looking, trying to follow it with my eyes, because I was like, wow, that's the first wolf I've seen out there. I didn't think about the time to actually look from the direction he came from, see why he was running so fast. What is it that scared a wolf to make him run balls out through the wilderness and the down trees and cactus and everything like that? It surely wouldn't have been me coming. He was hiding. He could have been back there hiding, and I wouldn't have seen him. So it couldn't have been the sound of me turning down the road. Something had him running. I didn't think about it at the time. I should have investigated what the hell it was that scared a wolf. Coyotes, I understand, but a wolf, something. I didn't hear any gunshots, so I don't know. Unless he was in pursuit of food that I didn't see, because I saw him and it was staring at him and not paying attention to what he was going after. So who knows? Maybe that's it. But you got the wolves, you got the coyotes, you've got bears, mountain lions, bobcats, elk, antelope. If you got, like, we just got the goats, and we don't have a nice secure place to keep hay right yet, there's a good chance that the elk and the antelope and deer and everything come out there, and even the cattle come out and try to eat the goats' food. The coyotes might come out and try to eat our goats. So the coyotes come and dig in the trash. Now the wolf out there, you just never know. Keep firecrackers. We have firecrackers. We can't buy them in Arizona, but we bought them. I bought them in New Mexico and brought them home. Also fun to throw at the children, of course. They get a laugh out of it. They all stand in a group and you throw it at them and they all run. And I know, you got to find ways to amuse yourself when you live out there. But this is great. It's great for middle of the night. You hear animals out there, wildlife out there. You may hear your goats, your sheep, whatever you have bleeding, your chickens, ducks, geese, whatever going off. So you know something's going on. Or you hear banging because they're digging in the trash or something. You know something's going on. Get firecrackers. Throw firecrackers out your door. It's going to scare the shit out of them. I mean, obviously, you can get your gun and go spotlighting. But if it's the middle of the night, it's 9 degrees outside, you're cold, you're in your pajamas, or you're naked, or however you sleep, and you don't want to go out there in the middle of the night, or you're, as Sylvia by herself out there this winter, she doesn't want to go out there in the middle of the night and confront something that she doesn't know what it is. Get your firecrackers. Throw out a pack of firecrackers. Maybe throw out a few packs. Just keep them going. They're playing loud out there. It's going to echo. The sound is going to carry, and it's going to spook them and run them off. It's definitely a trick that a lot of people use. It's not something I came up with. It is a trick that people use. Not to mention the fact that, you can get you a bundle like that of firecrackers for, I don't know, $10-20 with 60 packs of firecrackers in it. Way cheaper than friggin' ammo. So why waste ammo, your shotgun ammo, shooting up into the air to try to scare them off when that pack of firecrackers is going to be much cheaper than your shells for your shotgun. Just a thought. I think that's all that I have for now. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. I'm probably forgetting other things. If y'all have any questions, feel free to ask, because I know I'm forgetting something. You get to take taking for granted sometimes when you're living out there. Just little tricks and tips. You learn it, you pick it up, and you keep on going. It's like, oh well, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. We will hopefully be planting garden this year, so I'll have some more information about that once we get it done and get this figured out. This first year that we've done it, so we're not familiar with growing out there and what it's going to take yet. But once we do, we'll definitely keep you guys posted and keep you. Well, probably. I'll probably make videos and update you about it if I'm home. Show you the progress of the garden. But that's all I got for now. Thank you. Stay tuned. I'll either add the videos that she sent of the goats onto the end of this, or I'll make something separate for the goats. Anyhow, we love y'all. Have a great day. Stay safe. And get yourself some off-grid property, man. Have fun. Enjoy it. Life is so much more relaxed. I tell people all the time now, that's how I'm doing. I'm like, I'm living a dream. Even though I've got to be sleeping in my truck here working, I still know I've got that property there in my home and our animals, and Sylvia's holding down the fort, and it is what it is, man. It's living a dream. I'm pretty happy. Take care, y'all. Bye-bye.